It's beautiful, and I love the perspective for 2026. Thank you. It being Epiphany Sunday, our scripture, of course, is going to come from the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 7 through 12. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." And after they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. That was Matthew chapter 2, verses 7 through 12, the New International Version. Now, we don't always observe Epiphany here at AMC, but the Magi story is found only in the book of Matthew, which was written almost 60 years after the life of Jesus. And it really the whole book of Matthew actually appears to be an enhancement of the first gospel ever written, which was the book of Mark. And I confess, one of the reasons I observe Epiphany is because it gives me permission to keep my own decorations up for another week, which I've also done here at the chapel. But metaphysically, I can't help but reflect that Epiphany serves as the final charge of the Advent story. A little backstory from Matthew. The Magi did not work for Herod. These were mystics who came to Jerusalem after having read the stars, astrologers, if you will, and they were seeking a new spiritual king. Now Herod, wary of threats to his power, summons his own priest to verify the prophecy, and then Herod asked the Magi to discreetly let him know when and where they found him, so that he too may go and worship him. And Matthew later reveals that Herod has no such intentions, quite the opposite. But this in due time is all revealed via a dream to the Magi, who operate at a higher consciousness. And they sidestep Herod and his intentions and Jerusalem on their way home. Now, Matthew's bonus Advent story beautifully follows the earlier Greek philosophy of Hermes Trismegistus. The Magi story, the Magi journey within a polarity. At one end is Herod, concerned with earthly power and willing to deceive in order to keep it. And on the other end is divine power. Because these Magi are calibrated to their higher selves, they are inclined towards the divine. Now, if you opened our recent emails, you'll see that we've furthered that journey of the Magi, and we've personalized it this way. The more you follow your inner light, the more you become a beacon for others and illuminate the world. Now, it must be said that the gifts of the Magi have long been a blessing for comedians and cartoonists alike. And one of my favorites, the three wise men appear at the stable door, and the second with a large green monster in tow. Says the first Magi, "You idiot, the registry said frankincense." Yeah. And my other favorite, the wise men present their offerings. "I bring gold. I bring frankincense." Says the third, "How about this nice bottle of Merlot?" Yeah. So for as much ribbing as the wise men get, number 2 and 3 especially, for their gifts, because who wants frankincense and myrrh? What are those things? There lies a potent but overlooked lesson. Gold, yes, is befitting of a king. It's obvious. Even in the modern world, it's associated with prestige, and monetarily it provides personal security. But frankincense and myrrh were and still are considered powerful, natural healing substances. So when you think about the proportion of these gifts that have been put into the story, there's one earthly material reward to be spent on anything, encountered by 2 healing essences intended strictly for the well-being of others. Now, further misconstruing the Magi for kings does us a disservice. Royal status did not enter this story until about the 3rd century, and the Magi, they were mystics, they were astrologers. And their willingness to hoof it from some remote point in Persia to Bethlehem tells me that they were not seeking a cushy life, but the highest knowledge and a profound spiritual experience. We come to AMC so that we can better put our higher selves into action in the world around us. And I realize that sometimes this merely means being non-reactive to society at large, to comments on social media, or even to that certain relative at Christmas dinner. But in the best scenarios, we've come here to learn how to employ our personal gifts. Recently at a dinner party, the hostess, who loves to ask probing questions, put us on the spot with this million-dollar question. What are you here to do? And some around the table were at a total loss. You could just tell by the expression in their eyes. And the rest of us, though, already aided by a glass or two of Merlot, began to extol those people's virtues. One woman, we decided, was an amplifier. Wherever there was happiness, whenever there was happiness, she made it all the more joyful. And if we were genuinely sad, we could count on her to create this gentle space for you to be safe, but still sad. I realized sitting at that table that gifts come in endless form, and the teacher, the mother, the dog rescuer, there was the joker, there was the coach. But in the digital era, I realized how the Herod mindset in us is not content with our natural gifts. Every time an ultra-filtered influencer hits my algorithm, I can't help but think of one of the lines our own Reverend Jim uses to set us up into a deep meditation. I accept myself just as I am. I accept myself just as I am. And the fact that Reverend Jim incorporates this into his meditation speaks to the fact that the human survival instinct is alive and working against us. By this, I mean that we tend to obsess over our perceived weaknesses and downplay our strengths because thousands of years ago, weaknesses threatened our very survival. And I've seen this play out in my own life too. The Herod mindset works against us in two ways. We dismiss our gifts out of fear that they'll be rejected, they're not worthy, and thus we will lose status. Or we deem them insufficient, and then we artificially inflate them to enhance their desirability, to enhance our status. Social media has enabled humans to window dress their lives. Filters make us younger, fitter, more artistic. We also curate only the best moments of our vacations and include super-saturated photos of sunsets and beaches. And the rise of the so-called professional influencer has produced a generation of people who see little value in making a difference at their front doorstep instead of chasing followers and likes. Our algorithms are flooded with glamorous and self-curated strangers, convincing people this is the norm. And then a dangerous mindset creeps in. If it can't be done on a large scale, then it must not be worth doing. This Advent, I've spoken about the power of the collective Christ consciousness. In order for this to happen, we must be content to be a drop in the greater bucket of that consciousness. Be generous with your gifts and deploy them in small ways. Inconspicuously, if we bear our gifts with sincere intentions without commodification, we discover they are truly a renewable resource. A couple years ago, I was talking with someone about my breathwork classes, and they asked me, well, how can I use breathwork to increase prosperity? And I love that question. And I spoke on about how breathwork makes us less reactive and better able to find the opportunity or the blessing in every situation. And I mentioned how it instills inner peace and helps us take that into the world around us. And it also makes us more open, more receptive to higher wisdom. But after a couple of follow-up questions, I realized this person was actually interested in a specific type of prosperity, financial prosperity. Now, as someone who strives to live in the flow, I'm not really keen on narrowing the bandwidth of that flow, except in emergency situations. Dear Lord, please let that bear not be hungry. But as I thoughtfully offered, I offered back to this person, if the divine determines you need money, it will come. But I hope you'll be open to other gifts. Now, in some esoteric schools, there is a law of reciprocation. And similarly, in some schools, there is the law of compensation. And in both senses, it is not an exact exchange. This is not intended to be an exact exchange. And this is why we should not be strategic about what we put out into the world, how we deploy our gifts. We should not inflate what we have to offer, but nor should we discount it. God knows its true value and will use it accordingly. As Reverend Kathy Poland told me early on, and I know the Reverend Fabienne would second, this is a cardinal rule of spiritual healing. So knowing that we live in a cycle of divine flow, why wouldn't we cast a seed upon any plot of land where we saw hope it might take root? When writing my mother's eulogy, I noted that Matthew's admonition to not cast seeds upon stone was wasted on her. Now, the writer of Matthew is talking about sharing the gospel, the good news, but in a broader sense, I saw that everyone, no matter their status, was a worthy recipient of my mother's tender, loving care. She cast her stones. She cast that gift of hers indiscriminately. And I see posts about people about how they survive 2025 or 2026 is going to be another challenging year. I won't deny that a little over a year ago, I found myself mired in some despair. And after considerable meditation, after some considerable meditation, I realized that I've had some good years of living spiritually because everything was going hunky-dory for me. And I realized, as they say in video games, that perhaps this would be a leveling up for me. I was going to get to engage my personal and spiritual gifts in a little bit more challenging setting. So I encourage you actually, as the foil to that mindset is what Julia just presented. Just look at it as a whole new world. But turning back, the Herod mindset, I want you to turn your back. Make sure you turn your back on the Herod mindset. Turn your path backwards, away from Herod. Deploy your simple gifts in good faith with no intention other than the joy of getting to do so. And don't ever second guess their value, because you don't know, there just might come a time when exactly what is needed is Frankenstein and a bottle of Merlot. And if you'd set everything down and close your eyes, I'm going to lead us through just a couple rounds of box breathing to get us into a more relaxed and gentle head and personal space. So just relax your hands and put them palms up and on your thighs. I like to think of this as not only a receiving gesture, but it is an offering gesture as well. And just breathe through your nose before you get that nitrous oxide. Breathe slowly through your nose into the belly and hold it. Hold it. And slowly exhale. Just do another one. Hold the emptiness. Inhale through the nose. Hold it. Exhale. Hold the emptiness. In through the nose. And hold it. Exhale. Now, I want you to gently place one hand on the top of your forehead, about where your hairline is, and one below the belly. Breathe in deeply again, and imagine that prana coming in through the crown chakra, deep into the root chakra. Savor the fullness of that. And then release the air back up and out the crown chakra. Take it in. Fill the root with prana. And then on the exhale, send it out through the crown chakra into the world. And again, place your hands on your thighs again, palms up. And continue to breathing with this pattern, this cycle, receiving prana from above, taking it in, and then releasing it back above. Continue this cycle at a pace that is comfortable to you. Keep your attention on your breathing. This time I want you to breathe deeply through the crown, and this time, on the exhale, let the prana, let that energy spill from within you out, down your arms, and into the palms of each open hand. Again, breathe deeply through the crown. And when you release the breath, imagine that prana spilling into each open palm of your hand. Gently inhale. Feel the richness of the prana. Each time allowing that abundant prana to fill your own hands. As you continue this process, pay attention to that prana energy in your hands. Does it vibrate? Using your mind's eye, notice it's present. Does it have a shape, a color? Is it warm or cool? Does it have weight? Continue breathing again deeply. On the exhale, enhance these sensations, bringing each bundle of prana in the left and right hands, bringing them into vibrant life. These two offerings in your hand are what you will carry forth into the week ahead. They are unique to you for this given moment. Now, ask Spirit to give you in one word, maybe two. Ask Spirit to reveal to you what each one is, in the left and the right. When you have your answer, when you know what each offering is, take one more deep breath to enhance their vitality. And then gently bring both hands over your heart and take those offerings, take that energy into your heart so that they will be used with loving intentions over the week ahead. And when you're ready, turn back to us here in the chapel. You can inhale, and on the exhale, open your eyes. Wiggle your fingers, your toes. And now if you would reach for your bulletin and open it to the meditation affirmation. If we were lucky, it might be in the chat on Zoom. And now, reading together the meditation affirmation. Knowing divine truth is not enough. To rightly know divine truth, it must be set into action. My gifts are perfect and complete, and I will set them into motion freely and lovingly. Om Shanti Shanti. Peace, perfect peace.